What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Top of the List. I'm Dom. This is RB. Coming back at you from another Zoom call. Momentarily staying away from our studio for the holidays, but we'll be back there in January. I think that's when we're going to start shooting episodes again, or the end of December. But topic of this episode is, of course, the highly anticipated Mandalorian Season 2 finale. And man, oh man, was this a thrill ride. Very satisfying episode of television. I think it's safe to say a lot of people have been talking about this one. Of course, I had to watch it last night at midnight. I think, Ryan, maybe you watched it you watched it at midnight too.
First time in a while that I've taken the time, Thursday night at midnight with an early morning of work on Friday. Typically, I'll just wait till Friday afternoon to watch once I'm off of work. But yeah, this one was definitely worth staying up till, midnight and then into 1 a.m. As it ended to watch. Really, definitely a lot of anticipation built up around this episode. And for the most part, at least for me, and I definitely think from you too, Dom, met those expectations, if not exceeded them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely didn't want to get spoiled on this one. And guys, there are some massive spoilers coming your way. We're both going to give our scores right now, and then I think we should just go right into spoilers. So,
absolutely. Yep.
For those of you that haven't seen it yet, I'm going to give my score 9.5 out of 10. Firmly above amazing, which is what we graded usually a 9. Not quite to that 10 out of 10 level that the Jedi was, where we got introduced to Ahsoka Tano earlier on in the season, in my opinion. I think that was more of an artistic episode of television that had a unique samurai film style to it. And of course, me being a huge fan of the Clone Wars, that one is always going to hold a special part in my heart. But this is just about the next best episode compared to that. And I'm interested to see where Ryan kind of ranks this one. What's your score?
Yeah, I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. So definitely that level of amazing. Personally, I did prefer the Jedi. I also was a huge fan of the tragedy, an episode I think that took place, that was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put it just below that and about even with the Heiress, of course, the episode where we met Bo-Katan. So put it on that level. Definitely one of the, I would say, not just top 3 episodes this season, but definitely one of the top 3 episodes this show has put out. Like I said, I did have some other ones that I liked a little bit better, but this was definitely still lived up to the expectation of a truly magnificent season finale.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think we could talk about the director before we go into spoilers. It was very clearly stated. I was reading the news before the episode came out. Peyton Reed would be returning, the director from episode 2, and of course of Ant-Man and the Wasp fame. Episode 2, guys, in my book, the weakest episode of the season. And I thought, wow, Peyton Reed is such a great director. Why would they do this to him and only give him a weak script like that? Well, it turns out not only they give him the weakest episode, but one of the best episodes of the season here at the end. And I think this was the one that he really got to flex his action chops. The action in this episode is incredible. A lot of great sequences. And yeah, there's lots of great stuff that happens. I just don't want to get into spoilers. It's so hard to talk about it without spoilers.
I think it's time. I think we, right now, folks that are watching and haven't yet seen it, go watch it. We're going to go into spoilers now because, you really can't. There's so much to spoil in this episode, but that needs to be discussed in a review. So right now, spoiler warning. Anyone who hasn't seen it, go watch it. Pause us here and then come back and we'll be discussing. Let's go into some spoilers.
Yeah, let's start with some minor spoilers, and then we'll move into the big grand finale that is a major spoiler. So minor spoiler, at the beginning, I guess we see, some more awesome battle sequences with Slave One. We see Dr. Pershing being captured by Mandalorian with the help of Boba Fett and his entourage. And then we get our title sequence, the rescue. And that got me so hyped. I was like, oh yeah, this episode's awesome. Action right off the bat. And then we get one of the coolest bar scenes in all of Star Wars, up there with the original Cantina sequence, I think, from A New Hope, where we get to see Mando and Boba Fett walk into the bar, and you get that amazing shot of them side by side. and they confront Bo-Katan and ask for her help. And oh my gosh, yeah, Bo-Katan returning I was a big fan of this. What were your thoughts on this bar sequence?
Yeah, I mean, I think, there are so many. Once again, we've been discussing since season 1 how The Mandalorian is a Western. It's a
Yeah.
space Western. And this was classic, bar or saloon scene like you want to see. And, every Western, every good Western has a great bar scene. But I think what makes this one and what makes any great, bar sequence is the dialogue before, any fighting. And I love the dialogue between Boba Fett, and I don't think it may be Bo-Katan, but also her second. I'm not remembering.
Koshka Reeves.
Koshka Reeves. I love the back and forth there because it does sort of bring forward, to the attention of Mando. He doesn't know much about Boba Fett.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see, and
You're a clone.
Yes.
I've heard your voice 1,000 times.
And
It'll be the last voice you ever hear.
What was it? Yeah. It was my father's armor. Don't you mean your what's the word they use?
Your donor.
Your donor, yes. Love that line.
Yeah. And then Boba Fett and Koshka Reeves have an insane bar fight where they are Boba Fett takes his grappling hook and like ties her up, and then she pulls him in and kicks him in the stomach and then flips him over and does some, because Sasha Banks is a professional wrestler, she was able to do those stunts on her own, I'm sure.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then they both turned around at the same time and flamethrower each other, repelling the flames from one another. So incredible. And you know what I love about the show most, and especially these last few episodes, all Mando has to do is say he has the child, and everyone's like, let's fucking get this guy. It's over now.
Seriously.
Like, I love how everyone loves Grogu so much that they're just ready to fucking fight whenever they say he has the child. It's so cool. So
no, without a doubt. And I couldn't agree more with you there. That an awesome sequence that, sucks you in right at the beginning. Of course, first, always, for me, whenever Slave One's on screen, watching that, I think a really cool standoff scene there too with Dr. Pershing and the two what are they, Imperial pilots or whatever you want to call them.
I like how
driving the shuttle, flying the shuttle.
Yeah, and I like how the Imperial pilot kind of gives us an idea of what that tattoo on Cara Dune's cheek is. He says, I saw your tear.
Oh, that.
And that is how he knows she was a member of the planet of Alderaan.
How about the back and forth there about Alderaan though, where she's talking about Alderaan, he goes, well, I was on the Death Star, and she goes, which one? You have the laugh there, but there's some awesome dialogue there back and forth about, they're talking about blowing up a planet, and yet he's talking about all the people that died on the bases. I thought that was, really powerful. Going back to last week's episode too, and a lot of the juxtaposition of, who's truly in the right and who's truly in the wrong. And I'm even seeing some of this in the Clone Wars. There's not really good or bad in war. There's just, for the people who aren't really involved and caught in the crossfire, there's just war.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, especially in this opening sequence, we get the show is going to go violent. And I think they do go more violent in this episode because Cara Dune shoots this guy in his freaking face. And just before
the pilot, takes out his co-pilot who's ready to sell him out and surrender.
Yeah, shoots him in the back of the head. That was freaking insane. I was like, oh, damn, they're going for it. That's cool.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, we get I don't know if you thought this was a slow point or not. I didn't think it was, but I thought it was really cool where they kind of explained their plan of attack to attack Moff Gideon's Star Cruiser. And it's just cool to see all these people, all of Mando's entourage from this season together in one ship and, planning it out and all these personalities clashing. It's really cool.
Yeah, without a doubt. I agree. And I did enjoy that. I also do want to call forward another sort of point of juxtaposition, and we see it later on as well, that sort of still shows and humanizes good person versus bad person, or protagonist versus antagonist. That's, to me, very clear in this episode. And it's the idea of mercy. We see it, first in this opening scene with, with Slave One. They don't actually just go and try and blow up that cruiser or the shuttle. They say they shoot them with ion torpedoes. So they just disable their powers and then they board.
Right.
We see it later on. Spoilers, of course, as we said, in the battle between Mando and Moff Gideon, mercy being shown, which does sort of show us still who is good and who is evil.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we get this awesome hyper I guess it would be light speed or hyperspace sequence where I like the dialogue and banter between Bo-Katan and Boba Fett where he says, "Don't you worry, princess, I'll give him a show." I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then, of course, just like you said, seeing Slave One fight TIE fighters again is so, or at least for the first time, I think we get to see him fight TIE fighters. That's freaking
absolutely.
awesome, man.
Yeah, because we see him in the launch tube when they're crashing the shuttle.
Yeah, and we finally get to see how TIE fighters are launched from these Star Destroyers. We never really get to see that much, and I think that's really a cool point to see.
Yeah. Okay, I do want to talk about one point here that that kind of just upset me. It was a small thing, but once again, watching Clone Wars and then knowing how the story goes between the events of Revenge of the Sith and then all through the the new or the original trilogy and then the sequels, when they go, oh, we what was it, they're talking about the Dark Troopers and they go, we realized that the human was the final defect.
Yeah.
Well, didn't they have any research that they tried building a droid army like years past and they kind of sucked?
Yeah, you're right. But I think
I was like, oh, okay, well.
I think that it was actually emotional that it would be these droids that are in between Mandalorian and Grogu. Because if you remember back to season 1, droids were the reason that the Mandalorian lost his parents way back during the Clone Wars. And, he had said he hated droids, and then IG 11, he kind of softened him a little bit on that at the end of season 1.
Yeah.
And now, once again, it's a droid in between him and the thing he loves. So I thought that was cool.
I don't know. I just, like I said, watching the Clone Wars now again, too, and just kind of seeing how stupid and quirky the droids are, I think that just kind of upset me. I was like, we've done this before,
But I like that the Dark Troopers, I like that I think that's an excellent point. I like that they made that the Dark Troopers didn't talk. They didn't have personalities. They were just this imposing force.
Well, let me ask you, because once again, watching the Clone Wars and just rewatched Revenge of the Sith, the droids in the prequels don't speak, do they? That's a Clone Wars thing. They do?
No, especially in Phantom Menace, they talk a lot.
Okay, see, and I try my best to not even remember anything about Phantom Menace, with the exception of Darth Maul. Darth Maul's badass, but otherwise, try and just hit the reset key and assume that the prequels start with Attack of the Clones.
So they break up into 2 teams as they get on the Star Destroyer, or they call it a light cruiser for some reason. I don't know what the difference is, but and we get to see Team 1 being Bo-Katan, Casca, and Cara Dune, and Fennec Shah.
Yep.
Yeah. So all the women assassins, Mandalorians, rebel fighters, all fighting together. I thought that was pretty awesome, and some great shootout sequences. I thought it was really great.
I don't know. I found this part. Yeah. Here we go. Whether they were male or female characters, I found this whole shootout sequence somewhat repetitive over and over again. Just more of them killing stormtroopers. I did like, there was a little bit of an interlude before they storm the bridge where you have Cara Dune with the big machine gun. And, they're trying, are you sure you can work that thing? And she just hits it on the ground. Oh, that should do it. And then they go in and she just badass with the, the blaster Gatling gun. That was pretty awesome. But yeah, I'll be very honest. I did watch it, like I said, last night at midnight. Yeah. And through this sequence, like I said, I felt like it was just very repetitive, just a lot of just slaughtering mismatch of 5 badasses killing a bunch of stormtroopers. I was starting to doze off a little bit at this point.
No way, man. I was getting way into it at this point. And how about when they're on that bridge and just space below them, Bo-Katan and Casca Reeves jump off the bridge, and then they leave Cara Dune and Fennec to shoot, and then all of a sudden a bunch of battalion of troopers shows up behind them, and then boom, they both come up from the side in their jetpacks and just massacre them. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, that was a nicely done scene in that sequence that was, not just them killing easily.
Yeah,
you're right.
And once they get to the bridge, they just freaking dominate everybody. Yeah, I could see what you're saying there. Now let's talk about Mando's journey. He wants to go in alone. He wants to save Grogu, and he's kind of sneaking his way through, and we get to see his first fight against a Dark Trooper. He's able to close the doors just in time so that it's only one he has to face, and he can barely hold his own against one, and I was on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, until he pulls out the Beskar spear.
Yeah, the Beskar staff.
I mean, let's staff. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. They sort of smacked us in the face with this one. That this was how Mando was going to kick butt in this episode. I mean, you hear it in that bar sequence when they're talking about the Darksaber, and they're like, the Darksaber can cut through almost anything. Well, except for pure Beskar. Well, that sort of gave it up that that was going to be our weapon of choice this episode.
Yes.
How
about when he's getting his freaking face pummeled into the wall and he's just like denting the wall as he punches him? I thought that was insane.
Right, yeah, but you knew, he's got a pure Beskar, helmet on. So
I thought it was going to bend at some point, man.
I don't know. I was curious if like maybe the vision part was going to break and we were going to see like his eyes, almost like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man-esque when the mask is getting all ripped in that final battle with the Green Goblin. I was thinking that may happen. But, he finally overpowers the Dark Trooper and then he, sucks out the rest to space, which I thought was a little easy. I'll be honest. I liked watching Mando in these next two sequences, but I did feel like it was all a little too easy for him.
I don't think so, man. I think it was a big struggle. I couldn't disagree more, but let's get to the part where my one nitpick is. This is the reason I marked it down a half point. I guess I have technically two tiny nitpicks that add up to my half point down from a 10 out of 10 to a 9.5. And this is number one of those. So, we get to see Giancarlo Esposito full scene acting, and he is so intimidating. He is fantastic.
Yeah. Straight up Gus Fring.
Yeah, and I love how calculated he is. He says, "I know that you've already fired the one salvo from your wrist launcher."
Yep.
He says, "I just assumed that I already know everything," and that's so cool. I thought that was great.
I know that your friends are up on the bridge, and they're expecting me there, and I'm not there, and they're panicking.
Yeah, like he's just so calculated and cool. Like he thought everything through, but and this is kind of weird. Is that he says. He says, keep the Darksaber, Mando says to him. And then he says, I've already got his blood. Fine, take him. Go ahead. And then all of a sudden, he just turns on him and freaking slashes him in the back. Like, okay, I kind of expected that, but I expected there to be more of a reason. Like, why he was turned on him.
I think the bottom line is Mando doesn't understand the true evils of the Republic. Or, I'm sorry, not of the Republic, of the Empire, or whatever is the pre-First Order. He's just naive and thinks, okay, he doesn't realize how evil they are, that they quite literally will give you what you want and then stab you in the back. That's sort of what I took away. It was just once again showing how evil we are. I talk about mercy, and we see mercy in this next scene where Mando spares Moff Gideon. But, I think that's just once again the juxtaposition of good versus evil.
I think you're right, but it just came off as Mando. That, like you said, he's too naive. Like, really, you expected this evil guy to just let you have Grogu and walk out? No way, dude. Yeah. He's definitely going to stab you in the back. But once we get to see the fruition of it, I think the reason why he kind of slashed him in the back and he strikes his Beskar jetpack knowing that he wouldn't kill Mando there is because he wants Mando to win this battle. And that's why a lot of people have been complaining, including my roommate from college, Hunter Powers. Me and him already talked about this. He said, this battle was awesome between Mando and Moff Gideon with the Darksaber and the Beskar staff, but it was too short.
Yes.
It wasn't that long.
Yes, without a doubt, one of the primary reasons I marked this down from a 10 to a 9 is I was expecting this episode was going to be about a crazy battle between Moff Gideon and Mando, and we didn't necessarily get this. Now, to me, everything after this part where Mando overpowers but spares Moff Gideon and takes over the lightsaber and rescues, Grogu and brings Moff Gideon in cuffs to the bridge. I thought from this point on, the episode was 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10, brilliant. But I agree. This was kind of the one letdown for me, was how short the battle was between Moff Gideon and Mando.
So I agree with you and Hunter on that one, definitely, that it was a short battle. But now that I've been thinking about it, I've seen the episode twice now. I just watched it with my dad for a second time. I think it was all part of his plan, to lose that battle intentionally. So because he knew there's no way that he's going to defeat Mando plus Bo-Katan plus Cara Dune plus Koska Reeves plus Fennec Shah plus Boba Fett. There's no way he can get through all those people. So he figures the only way I can prevent Bo-Katan from getting this Darksaber and ultimately have her win and take back Mandalore is have Mando defeat me, so he is the true owner of the Darksaber, and then have this, conflict against him and Bo-Katan start to be created. And that's kind of leads me into my next point where, Mando brings him back to the bridge. We get Grogu back on the bridge. He's safe. He's unhandcuffed. But then we get the history of the Darksaber, a little hint of it, not as in-depth as we go in Rebels, but here's my thing. It's like, I totally get where they're going. Most people haven't watched Rebels. Most people haven't watched the Clone Wars. They don't know the history of the Darksaber like, a lot of us devout fans would. In Rebels, there's nothing about this. It has to be handed off in one-to-one combat. In fact, spoilers for Rebels, but Sabine Wren, one of the Mandalorians, she finds the Darksaber and then literally just hands it to Bo-Katan. And by the end of the episode, after a little bit of a struggle that goes on in that episode, Bo-Katan accepts the Darksaber and says, I will lead my people. She doesn't have to defeat Sabine Wren just to take back the Darksaber.
Real quickly, just remind me, Rebels takes place before the events of Mandalorian, right?
Correct,
okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure I got that. Okay.
Yeah, but so that's my kind of nitpick. I know maybe I'm thinking way too much into it, and I think Moff Gideon explaining the history of the Darksaber, how this weapon has power, and then he finally says, it's not the weapon that has power, it's the story. I love how he said that. I thought that was so cool that it gives us so much history behind this weapon because, like, Ryan, you don't know yet, but this weapon belonged to Pre Vizsla, who is a character you meet in the Clone Wars. And then Pre Vizsla is killed, and then it belongs to Darth Maul. And then it belongs, and it passes down. There's so much history, and it belonged to the first Mandalorian Jedi is the one that created it. And I love that there's all that history there if you look for it. But I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool seeing Mando hold it, though, and walk in the doors holding the Darksaber.
Oh, without a doubt.
But what do you think about this conflict they're trying to breed between Mando and Bo-Katan?
I mean, they had to go somewhere with it. I really like, once again, like I said, you have this whole sequence. Yes, we get this cool fight between Moff Gideon and Mando, but it was really short. Then he walks in, and I'm like, okay, that was it. Once again, I felt like it was all too easy.
Okay.
But then when we get, that great twist that, that she can't take the Darksaber, and we get that history, this is where, okay, I get why it was so easy. Like you said, I get that Moff Gideon was so calculated that is why he said they're panicking that he's not there.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so I mean, I like it. This is right where, to me, the episode is turning from a 8.5 to a 9.5. Like I said, I'm still willing to be talked into from you from bumming this from a 9 to a 9.5. But this is right about the place, like I said, where it starts turning from an 8.5 to a 9.5 episode.
Yeah, and we see. I kind of like the line where he says, I like how Moff Gideon's explaining it to him, and then he says, it has to be won in combat. And then Mando goes, I yield. Here, take it.
Yes, absolutely.
I thought that was awesome.
Very much a move that we'd see from like an Ant-Man.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And then, of course, we get the Dark Troopers return. Very intimidating. They're starting to break down the door. Everyone's loading up their guns, pointing them at that. And then all of a sudden, I can't explain it, Ryan. My heart was beating so fast. The second we saw one X-Wing fly across the bridge out from outer space, and then Cara Dune goes, one X-Wing, great, big help there, or something like that, And, well, you want to go ahead and explain what happens next, man?
Well, no, I mean, I think you knew more than me. I think up until the point that we see him get ready to take off his hood, and we see that he's got the one robotic hand, I wasn't even sure if it was Luke.
Yeah.
I'll be very honest. So once again, spoilers for those of you who haven't watched. I'm sure you have by now. A younger, I'm sure CG, Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker shows up, and as Dom's been predicting all season long, Grogu will most likely be the first of Luke Skywalker's, Jedi Training Academy, or whatever you want to call it, that, of course, later, takes in Ben Solo, who becomes Kylo Ren. But yeah, all through it, I was, because, you've been naming some other Jedi that could show up. So I was curious, maybe this is Ahsoka. Of course, she didn't have the white lightsaber, so I thought, maybe not, or maybe they're paying homage to the Clone Wars and her old school green lightsaber. I thought maybe it's one of these other Jedis from Rebels that you've been bringing up. But either way, I got whenever we have a Jedi on screen, I'm sorry, and that's why the Jedi episode was so amazing. We see the lightsabers. I mean, I think all of us, no matter when we were kids and we saw that first theatrical trailer for a Star Wars movie, it's the lightsaber that brought everyone in.
Yeah.
So anytime you get that lightsaber, and of course we see Luke Skywalker with the, of course, the classic green lightsaber.
From
Just,
Return of the Jedi, yep.
oh my goodness, just
And
absolutely massacring these Darksabers. How about that force squeeze? That was so cool.
That
just
was
no
amazing.
nonsense, straight out of almost like a Quentin Tarantino meets Star Wars film, just massacre.
And what is so incredible about this sequence, I mean, this made me feel like a kid again, dude, watching this all over
without
again.
a doubt, yeah.
And what is so incredible is the look on Moff Gideon's face as soon as the Jedi walks out of his X-Wing, or, Luke Skywalker walks out of his X-Wing, they have that close-up of Moff Gideon, and you can just see the worry on his face grow. And then he's just cutting through all his Dark Troopers, and they cut back to him again, and he's just devastated by him destroying his platoon of Dark Troopers. And the choreography from whoever, it has to be a stunt double that did it, by Luke Skywalker. Oh my gosh, dude. It makes you feel like, yeah, this guy's a Jedi master. And, we got to see hints of it in Return of the Jedi when he faces down Darth Vader and, and he cuts off Darth Vader's hand. That vicious attack style that Luke has. I love that we see that again. And the reveal when he walks in, reminiscent, I know it's not your favorite Star Wars movie, but reminiscent of that final scene in Rogue One where we get to see Darth Vader just ignite the lightsaber and the mist.
Without a doubt. Yeah, no, without a doubt. An incredible, drawing, of course, from nostalgia, but we're all for it. Otherwise we wouldn't be watching Star Wars films, here in the year 2020, or Star Wars shows, I should say.
Yeah.
For anyone, taking you back to that first time you saw Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi, or I'm sorry, in
A New Hope.
In A New Hope, thank you. Takes us back, and I think I'm really glad they didn't go too much on the aging. Of course, we weren't going to see Mark Hamill circa the sequels, but they didn't go too far in the aging. Still looks, like this young, now established Jedi master. I'm really happy that they went with that. Once again, like you said, I think you took the words right out of my mouth. Taking you back to your childhood, the first time you watched a Star Wars film. Maybe not the first time you watched A New Hope, but definitely Empire Strikes Back, where you see these awesome lightsaber battle sequences, without a doubt, yeah.
And I think, as soon as those doors opened and his green lightsaber was there, but his hood was still down, just like the words in my head just popped in, and I just like you said too, I wasn't 100% sure it was Luke. It could have been Ezra Bridger. He also has a green lightsaber at the end of Rebels, so I thought it could have also been him for a second too. But as soon as those doors opened and there was the homage to the Darth Vader scene in Rogue One, the words popped in my head. I was like, I'm a Jedi like my father before me. And I was like, oh, fuck, it's Luke. And I was like, oh, crap. It's amazing. And then, of course, dude, I'm not going to lie. I fucking cried. I seriously cried when he lifted down the hood and the Star Wars theme played.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, my God. It's amazing. Yeah. And then he says, come with me, young one. And it's so awesome.
Yeah. And then, I want to jump back. I want to jump back to one sequence before, when Luke is, massacring all of these Dark Troopers. When Moff Gideon first, tries to shoot, I forget who he tries to shoot first, but then he tries to shoot child, and Mando jumps in front of him, blocks him with the Beskar, and then he tries to turn the gun on himself.
Yeah.
When you see Bo-Katan kick it out of his hand.
Yeah.
Powerful sequence too, right before Luke enters, and we see that it's him.
Yeah, that was a good scene. Yeah, glad you brought that up. Yeah. I like how like I said, they're not afraid to go dark. Moff Gideon was about to freaking commit suicide right there. Mm-hmm. That's insane.
Yeah, which we've already seen once this season with the when Bo-Katan is asking where the Darksaber is.
Totally, yeah. Yeah, I love how they went dark. And, I mean, that first shot when Luke reveals his face, I mean, I'm not going to lie. It was extremely convincing. But then a few shots after, like when they start to do a few more close-ups, you're like, I could see that it's CG. And his mouth isn't moving correctly like an actual person's mouth. But that first shot when he just reveals his face and then he says, are you a Jedi? And then he says, I am. I was like, oh my God, that is so convincing. I was like, wow, they really pulled it off. And this just goes to prove Mandalorian is definitely the most expensive television show ever created.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, that's that extra Disney Plus budget though that they've got.
Absolutely. And I mean, any final thoughts? Of course, we get to see Mando remove his helmet. He shows Grogu his face. He says, Luke says he needs your permission. He's asking for you. He wants your permission to go. And then, Grogu touches his face without the helmet. And that was so sad. And
without a doubt, yeah. And then we have R2-D2, of course.
Yes.
So exciting. We get R2-D2 excitedly excitedly beeping, and you get Grogu sort of making his little cooing noise. I watch. I'm not gonna lie. I watch with closed captions. Just so I make sure I don't miss anything. And that's what it says. Like every time Grogu's on, Grogu cooing. But yeah, that's a good way to describe it. And then sort of walking away with R2-D2, so almost see like a smile on his face.
Yeah.
Yeah. So almost cool. Like a familiarity, like memories of Grogu, because like they said, a lot of his memory is damaged when we see him with Ahsoka in the Jedi. Maybe some of these memories coming back now, and he's remembering who he is as a Jedi.
Yeah, absolutely. A fantastic end to the show. And I think we have kind of two more points. I know we're running a little long here, but we have two more points I need to know your opinion on. Is this the last we see of Din Djarin? Or do you think, my theory is I think this story is going to pick up in the Ahsoka show. And then, of course, we have an after credit sequence that is the Book of Boba Fett. We get to see Boba Fett take the throne of Jabba the Hutt from I forget his that guy's name, Bin something.
Weird neck guy.
Weird neck guy.
Yeah. I can
Bib
get
Fortuna.
It for you.
Bib Fortuna.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think honestly, I've read some news on it, Ryan. This is my prediction. Then I want to hear what you think. Mm-hmm. They have said, after the Disney investors meeting that we made a whole episode on, go check that out if you want to know our thoughts on that. They said the next chapter in the Mandalorian story coming December 2021. Then at the end of this episode, they say the Book of Boba Fett coming December 2021. What that tells me is the Mandalorian season 3 is the Book of Boba Fett. And then the Mandalorian, the actual character of the Mandalorian, Din Djarin, he's going to be in these side stories that are coming out, Rangers of the New Republic and Ahsoka, the TV series.
I don't know, man. I think we have too much unanswered about, Bo-Katan and Mando. Of course, Bo-Katan is finally convinced to come, help rescue the child. I think one of the key things is not only, of course, the promise of her getting the Darksaber, but of Mando helping her retake Mandalore. So I think there's not enough touch on that we could have a full season of, Mando season 3 and the Book of Boba Fett, season 1, and Ahsoka, all going on in the same time period, but different shows. And I think that's totally achievable. I just can't see them just bringing the whole, Din Djarin, Bo-Katan timeline or storyline to that abrupt of an end and just making it a side story. I just don't see that being the case.
I think you're right too. And they have said, I don't know if you read up on this or not, Ryan, but they have said, with all these spin-off shows coming together, a lot of shows taking place in the same timeline as Mandalorian, Rangers of the New Republic, Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian, whenever they continue with season 3, all these shows they have said are going to come over in a huge crossover, just like they do in the MCU, with Infinity War, and like we got to see all the worlds collide. They're going to do that with all these Star Wars shows, and that makes me really excited. It's going to be a gigantic crossover event.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Now, I do have, I want to know your thought on this. I mean, where is Luke? Do you think Luke and Grogu are now done for these series, or do you think they're going to appear? In my mind, and I really want to see this because I'm curious, and maybe from Rebels, do Luke and Ahsoka ever meet and work together?
They've never met, and
so
I don't know if they ever will.
Almost in Ahsoka is seeing Ahsoka helping in the training of Grogu with Luke, or at least making an appearance. I'd like to see that. I also want to see Grogu wield a lightsaber. So little baby Yoda lightsaber. I think that'd be cool. But
I don't know.
That's what I'm hoping for, especially with Ahsoka knowing who Luke's father is, and maybe some skepticism behind, even though he's defeated Darth Vader and the Emperor. I'd like to see that and see what their relationship becomes.
Yeah, totally. I'd like to see more Luke, but then again, it would be so expensive to have that CG version of him for a whole show.
Well, let's find a lookalike.
This is it. Sebastian Stan. Everybody says Sebastian Stan should be playing Luke Skywalker.
I love Sebastian Stan. Sebastian Stan's great in everything. I can get behind that. I didn't know that, but I love Sebastian Stan and everything he's doing.
I'm all for it, man. I've seen some like photoshops of him wearing Luke's clothes and like with Luke's hair. looks just like him, like exactly like Mark Hamill when he was younger. But that's off topic. Where do you think they're going to go with the Book of Boba Fett? And then let's close this episode out.
That is, I think, my biggest question mark. Because the way that long panning out scene of Boba and Fennec, with Boba on Jabba the Hutt's throne, with Fennec sort of sitting there with the blue drink, whatever that is.
Yeah.
That we see Boba and his people drinking in Return of the Jedi, or Empire Strikes Back. Right? No, or is it Return of the Jedi? I'm off. Return of the
Jedi. Yeah, they drink it in Jabba's palace.
Yeah, exactly. I think they may go Boba Fett as a villain. So, I'm just thinking about this here because, that's a great shot. That's, similar as to shots we see of Walter White in Breaking Bad, or other villains, sitting on that throne with that long panning shot. I think they may even go, if they go Book of Boba Fett as season 3 of The Mandalorian, that Boba Fett may become our key villain now.
Yeah, and I'm just going to put it out there right now. I want to see how he escaped the Sarlacc pit. I just need to know. They need to, if they're going to do a Boba Fett show, or if they're going to make him a main character more so in season 3 of Mandalorian. I know that, the sequences that we have had flashbacks in Star Wars have not been the best. There's a lot of flashbacks in The Last Jedi that people weren't a big fan of. I want to see a flashback. I know maybe it's sacrilegious to say it, but I want to see a flashback. How did Boba Fett escape the Sarlacc pit? And what caused him 5 years after escaping to all of a sudden want to get his Mandalorian armor? What's the explanation for all of this? And I want to see where he's going forward. Maybe there's another storyline there where he's going to be involved with the battle for Mandalore in some way. Maybe he's going to take a claim to the throne, or maybe they're going to need his forces as he prepares to have like this gangster empire inherited from Jabba the Hutt. They're going to need his forces to overtake Mandalore.
I think that's more what I'm looking for. I think it's going to be all about this sort of, like you said, gangster empire that Boba has now inherited, that he's, of course, familiar with. It's not like he just was a pawn in Boba Fett's, yes, he was a bounty hunter that worked for him, but it seemed like they had worked together before in Return of the Jedi, that there was a relationship there.
Right, totally, yeah.
So I agree, and I'm curious to see where they go with that. Like I said, that's what I'm expecting from the Book of Boba Fett, is almost to see him as an anti-hero or even a villain, not so much of the First Order, but just of sort of a bad guy in this era now that he's sort of retaken his armor and reclaimed his, badassness, for lack of a better terms.
What I really want to see, and I just popped into my mind, what if this is like a metaphor for Boba Fett taking the throne from Jabba the Hutt, or Bib Fortuna, whoever had the throne at Jabba's palace? Him taking the throne is a metaphor for him wanting to take the throne of Mandalore, and it's going to be Boba Fett and his gangster army versus Bo-Katan and her army of Mandalorians trying to retake Mandalore.
I don't know about that. I feel like when we had that conversation between Bo-Katan and Boba Fett in the bar, that maybe you're right. He didn't seem to have much interest in Mandalore or Mandalorians. He just wanted his armor, and he's just worried about him. I don't know that he necessarily, at least to me, that would seem out of character. Let's just say that.
I get it. Yeah, totally. And, you're right. He does say in the bar, he says, I never said I was a Mandalorian. This armor I got this armor from my father, how he says that. And but, there is that antagonistic dialogue between him and Bo-Katan, so I could see them building on that, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, then. So we've talked about as much as we can. Going to give it a 9.5. Ryan, are you going to still stick with the 9?
I'm going to stick with the 9, yeah. I think our probs with the episode aligned pretty much evenly. And just to me, this was a 9 just because, like I said, I think I gave the tragedy a 10 and the Jedi a 9.5. And I'm just going to put it just a notch below those two.
All right, fantastic. So those are our scores, guys. Let us know what you thought about the season finale of Mandalorian. Any predictions you guys have for the future of the Star Wars universe in general, where they're going to go with any of these shows we've been talking about and these characters. Let us know down in the comments, or if you want to hit us up on Instagram or Twitter, you can find me at Dom Gonzalez 48, DOMGONZALES 48. Our tags are down in the bio. You can find Ryan Barnett on Instagram at RB_the_SID, or you can follow him on Twitter at RBWithTheCall. And, send us a DM there if you want, or just quote us, tag us in a tweet, let us know what your thoughts are. and we'll talk to you guys soon. Any closing thoughts, RB?
Yeah, just we've got, it's December. We don't have the theaters, obviously, but we have a lot of awesome streaming services, a lot of reviews coming your way. Wonder Woman 1984, which will be out on HBO Max. Soul coming out to Disney Plus. Safety, also a show that I'm going to give a watch. Dom, I don't know if you're going to join me on that one, but I'd love to do a review of Safety on Disney Plus, and I'm sure a boatload more coming out. So lots of content coming for you guys in the month of December. Stay tuned. Like Dom said, we'll be back at Top of the List Studios pretty soon. So no more of this Zoom, hopefully, for the foreseeable future. And looking forward to sharing more reviews with you guys. Have a great week.
Oh, I also want to say maybe we should do a favorite like Christmas time movies. Like I know that Ryan doesn't celebrate Christmas, but I do, and I know you've watched a lot of Christmas movies, but maybe we should finally talk about our thoughts on Die Hard. Is it a Christmas movie or is it not a Christmas movie? Maybe we should do something like that. Let us know if you want us to do something like that. Send us a DM, send us a comment on our YouTube channel. Let us know, guys. And thanks for watching, of course, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Later.